You're listening to the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast with Matt and Rich.
Fuck this team. Damn it! This is what? 30 seconds? Okay, we're recording on Saturday. Again, ASU won, which is great. They were down 5-1. 5 goals given up in the first period. All right. I literally had a tweet that I was going to post, and I'm probably not going to anymore, where it's like, we have reports, shots fired in downtown LA. Karel Vejmelka has been shot 5 times. He is dead. The tank commander is now in net. And the fucking tank commander is like, no, actually, I am God. I'm just God, and that's what we're doing now.
Yep.
And it's 5-5, and
with 16 seconds left. With 16 seconds left in the third period, I'm currently watching it on my second monitor. Obviously, I have to keep it muted, but I'm gonna give Matt some live updates. I tweeted out at when they tied it up. Roughly thereafter, I said, if this doesn't end up on Dagets, I don't know what will for the Coyotes, because unless it's Karel Vejmelka throwing another pass out that ends up getting scored, like. The LA fans, when they went up 5-1 in the first period, the LA fans chanted, hey, 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 goodbye, nah, 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 whatever, before we get copyright striked ourselves. Hey, 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 goodbye. And it is now 5-5 going into overtime.
8 games.
8 consecutive games with a point.
This team is supposed to be dead.
There was a stretch of time that this team lost 9 in a row. And now they are 8 points consecutive. Now, granted, not a lot of wins in those 8 games, not 8 points, 8 games. That is crazy. That's a coach and players that believe in that coach. Is it not?
Move to Houston.
Move him to Houston.
I'm the eternally optimist one, right? Optimistic one. Sure, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. All right, but I'm supposed to be the optimistic one here, and I'm looking at it like, look, we embrace a couple of years of pain. Next year we should start sniffing around that wild card spot. That does not mean making it. I think me and Major Nelson were talking a little bit on Twitter, and it's essentially for about a month, make us feel like we can get that second wild card spot. Then if the wheels fall off, they fall off. It's an inexperienced team. It's going to be young. It's going to be a lot of mistakes. Nothing wrong with that, and you just build from there. You make the playoffs. Within 2 or 3 years from right now, so it's a couple of seasons, and even if it's an early exit, you're building towards something. Yep. Perfectly fine with that. All right, but I know Logan Cooley is tearing it up, and I know we have the Matt Nyes meme, and we're also trying to get the Jimmy Snuggerud meme going, but that one really has no traction. All right, but
definitely has no traction.
Here's the thing. All right, this is one of the deepest drafts, obviously, so sure, you can get a good player at 15th overall. Great, I don't care. This is a year that if you're going to get top 3, and last year I was fine with top 3. 3 worked out very well, but if you want to get top 3, top 2, number 1 overall, it's this year. It's Connor Bedard, it's Adam Fantilli, it's Leo Carlson, maybe even
Carlson,
and even Matvey Michkov. Whatever.
Yep.
Yes, you have so many options, and this team. I've already used up my bleeps, and Richie hates me when I do the bleeps. So we got it out of the way first. Can't do it anymore. But why? Look. I love this team. Winning is fun. The quite frankly, I have to say it. The idiots that are like, I'm tired of hearing about the tank. Shut up. All right, you go through the pain, you build it properly, and you win cups. Yep. Because what they're doing here, they are going to win a Stanley Cup. They have the right people. Look, this coach has a
Yep.
roster that, well, I've maintained since last year. You've been a witness to that. Everyone's been a witness to that. This team is better than people gave it credit for. That does not mean they are currently a great hockey team. This means they are better than people think they are. And he's managed to squeeze. He is exactly the example I was giving when I'm like, Rick Talk is not a very good coach. The coach, if you have a great coach or even a good coach, they're going to get more out of these players because they are that good. Good coaches elevate mediocre rosters. Great coaches elevate good rosters. Yada, yada. You're seeing that. Tournier is a phenomenal coach. This team is going to win a cup. This is going to be a phenomenal future. We're probably not going to have Carlson, Fantilli, or Bedard as part of that because these buttholes, butt munchers, cannot just lose. They can't just start like, look, I made the meme, and it's just a meme for legal reasons. It's a meme. Because I made the meme, we should just go break Connor Ingram's kneecaps so we can start getting some losses.
Yep.
It's legal reasons, it's a meme.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to keep giving some live updates here. I know for the fans listening, you probably already know what happened because this will be going up tomorrow. Looks like Bukestad took a penalty in overtime. So now they're on the penalty kill. But what a brutal penalty. Oh my goodness. Their player literally had his stick stuck in his elbow and was can opening him. And just completely hooked him out of the play, and he was forced to trip the player in order to stop the play from happening. Wow. That was
versus Kings. The refs will always choose the Kings. Come on now.
I guess.
You know this. Come on.
I guess.
Just end me. Just end me at this point. Like, look, you know what? At this point, you might as well win. You might as well score a shorthanded goal. It's if Bukestad's gone. Give me Jack McBain on a breakaway. Screw it. Just give that to me.
I'm gonna go
give
with
me the win.
A guy who tied it up. I'm gonna say Christian Fischer scores it in overtime to win it.
You know what, Fish? You're back on thin ice with me, buddy. All you had to do was not. I don't care that you think you could win, and yes, you will in the future. 100% on your side there. As of this season, I hope you step on a Lego and it's very uncomfortable to walk for a little bit, and maybe just maybe that causes you to not be where you need to be for the next goal.
No,
Take that.
I will say something funny that I noticed in this game is the Coyotes are currently wearing their blacks because the Coyotes are wearing that just absolutely ugly. I think it's either an alternate or reverse retro with the silver buckets. More specifically, the buckets are ugly. The jersey's actually really nice, but the buckets are awful on that thing. On the black jersey,
I hate it for them. Hate it for ASU. Those weird like chrome
metallic things.
Get rid of them. They're so ugly.
The black jerseys, the Coyotes jersey, the ad is covered on their.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So I can actually explain that. So they're partner with a casino. You can do gambling, but only for home if you're in a state that has it. So they're also just the home sponsor regardless. So you gotta cover it up. So briefly, we get to have a little bit back of not having to have
decency,
advertisements on New
normalcy.
jerseys. Until they partner with Blue Cross Blue Shield or something that's national for the away jersey next year, and the white Kachina gets disgraced, and there you go. There you go. I'm just so mad. I am actually livid because here's the thing. I'll say it now. I have no problem saying it. If Chychrun decided he wanted to stay, straight up, if he decided that, and this team had about 8 more wins, I'd be all for it because I'd be like, you know what, why not? You can sniff around a playoff spot, we can have that be the meme, and then whatever happens in the offseason happens. We're not even close enough to have the playoff meme, So like, why? Like at this point, literally, I have a baseball bat. I'll bring it to work and leave it in a certain spot. And if
Are you
GMVA would
aiding
like
and
to break a
abetting
few
a criminal?
kneecaps, if GMVA would like to go over there and break a few kneecaps to salvage the season, go for it.
I don't know how they're going to salvage this, dude. Like the amount of points that they're getting, like, and the way Columbus is losing, there's no way that they're catching Columbus. There's
I
no
think it's
way.
okay
They would
if
have to
Columbus
lose.
Bedard. I think
I
Columbus can
agree
have
with that.
Bedard. I think that's
I
fine. Columbus, they only really had Rick Nash, and I think they didn't really do enough to build around it,
You
but
got
they at least
Gaudreau
put in the
there.
effort. They tried,
Yeah, you
and
got
their build
Gaudreau
is
there.
really nice.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would be perfectly fine. I agree. I think I'd be perfectly fine with him going to
Columbus, that would be acceptable.
I was going to try to
wouldn't
say
complain.
Ohio, but I was trying to blank on Ohio.
So like, it's fine. I will not complain as long as he doesn't go to Anaheim, because whatever the hell is going on between them and the Coyotes, I couldn't swallow that pill at this point and not going to Chicago. I don't care where Bedard goes. As much as I want that kid here, unless Gary Bettman is actually going to rig this lottery. And you know what? If the Coyotes finish 5th from last or higher, put $100 down on them to win the lottery. Just because I feel like that's what would happen. They have to make it blatant and really just rig that lottery for us to. But as long as we at least can get 3, you know what? We might not even be able to get Fantilli at this point, unless you're literally willing to just start breaking kneecaps and ankles, which would then destroy next season. So it's not worth it. Like
I just saw an interesting stat flashed up on the broadcast. Connor Ingram has still yet to let in a goal from his previous shutout. He is now up to 113 minutes without allowing a goal.
You think he becomes the next Brian Boucher?
I don't know.
He's like 5
He's doing
games.
well, man. It
remember,
was his 4
he has no
or
trade
5.
value.
Yes.
Remember, Ingram doesn't add anything to your team, even though it's literally he had that struggle, and that struggle was literally 4 games. It was a 5-game stretch. There was 4 of them. 2 were below 800 save percentage. It's really bad. 1 was a 942. Like sandwich in the middle there. Like he needed to get his feet wet, and between him and Vejmelka, pretty much the same age. I'm just gonna follow my gut. My gut saying keep Ingram around. Probably
I
as your
think
1B,
so too. I think he's younger too.
That's my gut saying.
He's younger. Like I could see Veggie getting traded at the deadline and running Ingram, Prosvetov, or whoever ends up coming back. You know, if there's a goalie that's coming back.
Cal Peterson, just waive him. Just send. You know what? Here's what you do. You trade
waived.
for Cal Peterson. You wave him down to the minors. You let Prosy finish the season at the NHL level. So you're like, hey, we need to see what we have with you at the NHL level, because I think he's got 1 year left on his contract before we do anything. There you go. 1A, 1B. Ingram gets 2 games. Prosy gets a game. You finish the season that way, and you got a brighter picture, because Vejmelka's been doing it longer, so he'll have more trade value. Yep. At this point, I think a first-round pick is now out of the question, because he's had a couple of those streaks where he's Swiss cheese. So it's like that is going to drive down the price. But if you can get a second-round pick, that's good value.
Yeah, he's definitely not Darcy Kemper value.
No, he's just not, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I will say the Kings have taken a 2-0 lead in the shootout. So, looking grim. It's looking very grim, which is very sad. It's very sad. You might as well complete the comeback if you came all the way, but it's looking like they are going to potentially lose this in the shootout.
All right, so let's go ahead and they lose it in the shootout. We're not just don't even give me any more updates from this point on. Just pretend it doesn't exist. I do want to talk about this. I'm going to go ahead and shoot my shot. Chicken gets traded tonight, because remember, let's rewind back to 2019. Let's go back in time a little bit. And do you remember the Taylor Hall rumors?
Yep.
Do you remember how those heated up and then kind of died down, and there was nothing?
Yep.
And then New Jersey came to town, and then what was it? It was within an hour or 2 of the game ending. Taylor Hall is now a Coyote, and New Jersey left, but they left Taylor Hall behind.
Yep.
So I'm calling my shot. I'm going to say I have an inside source. I don't actually, but I'm just going to pretend I do. I have an inside source.
Trusted
And
inside source.
trusted source. Trust me, bro. But but they're going to leave Chikrin behind. It's going to be Jacob Chikrin and Karel Vejmelka in exchange for Brendan Lemieux, Cal Peterson, a 2023 first, and they'll throw in Turcotte. But there's going to be a weird, caveat. I don't know how to explain that, whether it's an extra asset going their way or if there's like a conditional pick. But Turcotte's going to be involved. There you go. There's my bold prediction.
I think definitely Turcotte will be the piece that would be moved. They're not getting rid of Clark or
nope. We already knew you weren't getting Byfield. We only thought Clark was in play because there was 3 independent reports that he was involved in one day. So I was like, oh, he might actually be in play. And then when that got rejected within like 10 hours, he was officially right back off the board. Like, we did not actually think we were getting him. I know I've said before, if you're going to trade him to LA, you at least ask. You don't settle because you want to keep the price high. But that doesn't mean, like, that wasn't meant as a, we won't take extra first-round assets to avoid that. It's one of those, we're going to get our full value type things.
Yeah. Yep. There's some other assets in the LA organization that you can look at too that might be better than a Turcotte. I just don't feel like Turcotte's value has dropped so much just because of the injury situation with him. It's not just like a Jacob Chikrin situation where it's like, oh yeah, well, Jacob Chikrin's injured. No. You could literally see one season even though it was shortened, one season he did play full. And on top of that, he's played really well coming into this and stuff like that. This is an unproven talent. It's one thing to be proven in injury prone. It's another thing to be unproven and injury prone. So
what about a Jersey Velarde combo? Because everyone keeps saying that. And look, I'm not trying to trash talk either player. I don't have an opinion on either. I have no idea if either are actually that good.
So Jersey isn't bad. So just to give perspective, he's currently at 28 points this season in 53 games. Not bad, especially for a guy who is 24 years of age, so about the same age as Chikrin.
Right shot, right? We need more of those.
Yes, right shot.
Right.
He's somebody that definitely would be on the Coyotes. It's not just like a maybe pick that won't show up. The question would be, would they want to move a Jersey to bring in Chikrin? You know, that maybe, I don't know, obviously. But with how many points that guy's putting up, I don't know if you do. Like, just to give consideration, he's the second on the defense for LA for next best in points. So is that a guy that you're really wanting to give up? I guess, you are getting Chikrin, which is roughly same age, same kind of stature of play style, just left hand instead of right handed. Maybe. As for Turcotte, I don't see him being a piece that moves the needle. He's a fifth overall pick, very highly touted into that draft. People were kind of sketchy about him. Some naysayers were very sketchy about him, I'll say, but some that were on the hype train for Turcotte were pretty on board with him. Very similar to like kind of how Barrett Hayden was looked at the draft. A lot of people said, oh, he'll go 15th. And then a lot of people said he's the second best centerman in that draft. And so far, he's started to show a lot more signs of life in his career for being a significant top 6 piece. Probably not going to be a top line player, but a top 6, second line type guy. Turcotte, I just don't know if you need him, right? You have Geeky in the system. You've got Cooley. You've got Doan. You have so many of these kind of young pieces that are down there that are like top 6 kind of players. They're not like first line studs or anything like that. So, a Turcotte at 21 years of age, is that really like a piece you really need? And the question is like, I don't think it is. I really don't. But a Jersey might be more interesting, having a D-man that has played NHL games.
But also, you need to replace, because what we want is, again, we both like Chick, we both like Ghost. It's not them as people, but we want both of them gone at the trade deadline. So you're gonna have minutes to fill. That's a lot of minutes that you need filled. So you need to have a defenseman coming back, because as many good prospects as we have, the defense is thin. They did a good job getting a couple guys like Mav. I think was it Langlois, who's playing pretty decent this year. They got a couple guys, but not a lot that are going to blow you away, except for Moser. And Moser is already a top 4 NHLer, and he's not going anywhere. So do you really count that as a prospect? I don't. After his first season, I don't. He's straight up stolen that spot. He's not going anywhere. So unless, knock on wood, whatever, something happened, which we're not wishing that on, but he'll be around for a while, and you need that. So like they do need to get a little younger on the defense, because we like Brown, Stetcher, Nemeth. They're playing decently for having that veteran presence here in the locker room. They're not guys that are going to be here in 3 years.
Yeah,
they're not guys that are going to be part of your long-term plan. So you need that. You need to eat up some minutes, and Jersey's fine. I got nothing wrong with him. Maybe he's a little more offensive upside than I was giving credit for. I can admit that. I even admit it. I don't really know much about his game. But does it not sound disappointing? Like, you want to shoot for Clark, but the offer was Velarde and a first. So let's just say they up it to Velarde, Jersey, and a first. While that is a good value, that would be a good trade. Is it just because, like, they're not as young as you want them that it sounds disappointing? Or am I in the minority here that's like, that would sound disappointing?
I think so. Well, it depends, right? Because if you're holding on to Keller, and you might be holding on to Schmaltz, depending on how that plays out, those are the age groups of those types of players, And if you're holding on to Lawson Krause, who's also in that age group, those players are around that age group. It's fine to have kind of clusters of age group, and in that sense, you will. The only hard part is like when this team really starts competing, which, let's be real, Coyotes fans, when we're talking them making the playoffs consistently, that's not next year. That's probably not even the year after. The year after is probably when we squeak into the playoffs. By year 3,
4 years out.
Yeah, by year 3, maybe even 4 is when you go, okay, this team is a legitimate, able to make a run into the playoffs. Are these guys that are going to be on your lineup, 3 to 4 years out? I don't know. Ultimately, I can play the speculation game. I truly just don't know. And with that being said, maybe there's a guy like Velarde who is having a little bit of a resurgence year. He has 17 goals. 31 points in 46 games. He is a winger. He's right-handed, 6'2", so fits all the demographics of what Bill Armstrong's looking for. I would definitely call him a first-round asset, 100%. He's definitely not something like Turcotte, where I wonder, how much does a Turcotte move the needle in terms of being a first-round asset? Honestly, I think he has lower trade value than like Arthur Kaliev, who was taken high in the second round. I would be more interested in trying to pick up Arthur Kaliev than I would be trying to pick up Turcotte.
All right, so it's an Austin Matthews trade, and you want one more piece to flip the needle. We don't care what the other assets are. Let's say it's exactly what Toronto's asking for, and it's between LA and the Coyotes. Okay. The last piece is Turcotte or Hayton. Right now, which do you think is moving the needle more? Because they both are 5th overall picks. Turcotte has, I think, multiple concussions, which is more severe, but I think it's fair to say he's probably seen as a more offensively capable player, where Hayton, it's taken him this long to finally start to show it. And there's been reasons for it, but unfortunately, it doesn't matter what the reasons are. That's just where you're at. Which do you think moves the needle more?
So I would say absolutely it's got to be Hayton, right? Turcotte might have the higher ceiling than Hayton. Maybe Turcotte can establish himself to be more point getter than Hayton can in this league. But as of right now, if Hayton just completely burns out, I can put him in my bottom 6. I can trust him in my bottom 6. I can't trust a guy who's injury prone, who's concussion prone, right? It's not just injury like, it was a hand injury like Lawson Krause, right? I'm not worried about it, a Lawson Krause hand injury. A concussion? Yeah, that is pretty significant. And I even said the same thing with Connor Timmins when we picked him up. I said, there's a lot of value there, but concussion's a very serious thing because the chances of relapse are pretty significant. And if you're not Sidney Crosby, who, plays with a lot of ability to avoid getting hit or injured into the future, the chances of getting hit again and relapsing can absolutely happen.
And also to put it into perspective, like with most injuries, once you have your second concussion, you're more and more susceptible to them.
Yep.
Obviously, when you get your first, you're more susceptible than you were before, but just put it in perspective. But it also leads to, if I constantly break my shin, for example, just after a period of time, I'm not going to be able to put as much weight on it because it's going to start healing weird, or it's going to be weaker, so I'm not going to be able to I can't do as much. I might not be able to have as much muscle on it. You see it a lot with big men where they put on too much weight, it weighs down their knees, it kind of breaks down their knees over time. In basketball, I know I'm going around a little bit, but it's just it limits your ability. Concussions also, on top of that limiting ability, it could also lead to, depending on external factors, if there's pre-existing conditions, if you develop conditions, can lead to stuff like seizures, strokes, life-threatening stuff that I love hockey, but I'm not going to lie, and we're just going to use Turcotte as an example. If it was between him being able to live and being able to play like 2 more seasons in the NHL, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think any of us can speak on the behalf of a player. They need to live as opposed to playing the game.
Yep.
So it's a dangerous game. You hope that it doesn't become a bigger issue. You hope that it's kind of, okay, he's had some problems here, but it's not going to come back. You hope that. We wish nothing but the best on him. But when we already had an asset like that backfire a couple of times, we've already had these kind of questionable assets shoot us in the
Christopher
foot. Don't even.
Hey, I will say,
just before my time.
even though Christopher Kalanos never panned out, watching him make Patrick Waugh lose his mind will still go down in Coyotes history as probably up there in top 10, top 5 moments in Coyotes history. Watching just Patrick Waugh lose his mind because he gets scored on by Kalanos.
Imagine that's the man who ends your whole career. He's just coming. Wait, who would you rather? I know it wasn't his last goal against, but if it's your last goal against, you're a Hall of Fame goalie. Would you rather it be against Peter Mueller or Christopher Kalanos?
Oh, I think Kalanos just because it's funnier. Mueller's just sad, right? Mueller just like disappeared.
He's an Australian champion. Come on now.
He just disappeared. Like Kalanos, it was like, all right, well he got injured, and it's just that his career was ended because of it.
Anyway, so I don't know. Just I guess to try to start moving on to a different topic. Chychrun trade good. We don't hate Velarde. We don't hate Dursey. We don't hate Turcotte. We're just kind of giving examples. I still think Turcotte has more value than Hayton, only because it's taken Hayton this long to start showing that. And I feel like Turcotte is the more offensively valuable player right now. But I deeply respect Hayton's game of his two-way ability, to where they've thrown him on the first line, he's been just fine, produced. They've had him on the third or fourth line, he's been just fine, produced less, but played very well defensively and done some penalty kill stuff, and he's just a good player. I can trust him anywhere in the lineup, and it's not even just about the injuries, it's about I feel like Turcotte isn't as good two-way as Hayton. I don't feel like that should be controversial to say. But
It's
I just feel
definitely
like
not.
whenever you're getting, if you're trading a superstar, you're trading a big elite player, the player that's going to move the needle more is that. So that but he probably has more value than we think, but also probably not as much as youth that's valuing him high, I think. And that's the weird spot that I think guys like Turcotte are in, where when we're risk assessing, I think is the way to say it.
Uh-huh.
We might undervalue him, but when you watch him every night, you're like, hey, he's still a really good player. You're going to overvalue him. So it's probably somewhere in the middle. Is probably where his value's at.
I mean, I'll say this. If I'm trading him to Chikrin, to LA, and I have to make the trade immediately, and Byfield and Clark are off the table,
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be looking at Kaliev than Turcotte, personally.
So would you go like a 2023 first, Kaliev and Dersey?
Absolutely. I think I'd be good with that. At this
But
point, like, we just
but
need to
would
get
it
this
be
effing thing
would
done.
the Velarde Dersey be good enough for you?
Velarde Dersey in a first, or just Velarde Dersey?
Velarde Dersey in a first. So the alleged offer that was given in the offseason was Velarde in a first. So you're just adding Dersey to that.
Man, that's tough. That's really tough.
And then like Brendan Lemieux comes to Arizona because you got to make the money work. And also, he's a donor for the ASU Mullet Arena, by the way. And that is a publicly viewable sign. I put it on Twitter. That is on the public side. The ASU locker room door is right here, and the public side is right there. No one on the internet has pictures of it posted. I was just trying to find. I wasn't at work that day, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I thought I had a picture. I didn't. I was just trying to look for one on the internet to use for that tweet. No one's taking pictures of it. Not a single person has decided to chronicle that. Idiots."
That's interesting. Why did he donate to the mullet? Huh.
It just said like their top donors.
Did
So I don't know if it's talking about the mullet specifically or ASU hockey. No, Brendan Lemieux did not play for ASU.
it was the
Mario Lemieux's kid, Austin Lemieux, played for ASU, I think, for 3 seasons, and
yeah.
a bunch of people hated him because he wasn't as good as Mario. I'm sorry that Mario's kid wasn't as good as one of the top 5 or 10 best players in NHL history.
I
I
think it's
apologize.
I think it might be higher than that, my guy. I think Mario might make a argument for top 3.
I had Mario at number, I think 3 behind Gretz and Gordie Howe. I always had Mr. Hockey above Gretz, mostly because Gretzky is an arsehole. I don't like him. I don't like him as a person. As he was a coach for the Coyotes, I heard some things. I'm just gonna leave it at that. He's kind of an arse, so it's a personal bias. Yes, Gretzky is objectively the best. Don't care. Didn't ask. He's at least in the top 5 minimum. And it just depends on how much you value different guys from different eras. That's why I'm saying a top 5 or 10, just to be a little more conservative with the rankings. But he's still, yeah, I'm sorry his son wasn't as great as one of the greatest all time to ever play. So I apologize.
I will say, going back to that trade, I will say that even though, Velarde and Dersey are older, they're still 23 and 24 respectively.
They fit the timeline because they'll be in their prime when it's time for us to make playoff pushes.
I'm warming up to it a little bit more as I'm kind of looking.
I think it was kind of like that Kraus deal we were talking about when that was signed. It sounds high, but when you think about it, like it actually isn't. The more I'm thinking about it, I think it sounds disappointing. It sounds underwhelming. But when you actually stop and you think about the assets you'd be getting, Dersey, Velarde, and an unprotected first would be great value. And of course, like I said, you're throwing in Lemieux or whoever else. Just you make the money work. And if you want to swap Pamelka and Peterson, throw in an extra second or something just to kind of make it worth our while. And there you go.
And worst case, they're serviceable assets. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for.
He was thinking about something else.
I was, yeah. Serviceable assets. So in that sense, like, there's nothing saying you couldn't flip them in the future. Put them on top line like you did Nick Bugstag and Gostisbehere and turn them into...
Hey, that Connor Geeky kid's playing really well. Velarde is now excess goods. hey, we want to acquire. I am just going to use Matthew Kachuk as an example because just kind of give you a caliber of player. Hey, we really want to get this guy. Doesn't want to be here anymore. Hey, Velarde would be a pretty good swap. It's an additional asset. It's not a 1-for-1, but hey,
Yeah.
that might sweeten the pot a little bit.
Yeah,
You
you're
can
talking
use that.
Matthew Kachuk when he was trying to leave Calgary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to throw a little bit extra in, and it's like Huberto, as good as he was in Florida, that really was the hey, we're gonna need like an elite talent coming back as well. We're gonna need something coming back, and even though it hasn't worked out yet, it might end up turning around. It might not. I still think the contract's a little too big, but apparently I've lost the battle on this, and 8-year contracts is the way to go for 30 somethings, but. You know what? We'll just have to keep buying out contracts and using the Coyotes as a farm system, apparently, because that's
True.
how this is gonna keep going. And I think it's how we got Lawson Krause.
True.
Was it the Boland trade?
Boland, yep. And then Chikrin we got for moving up a few pieces by taking on the Datsuk contract.
Gotta love it. The Coyote legend Pavel Datsuk, Coyote legend Jacob Chikrin.
Yep. Yeah,
Gotta
just
love
think
it.
about that. We moved up. I think it was like 6 or 7 spots, maybe. Traded with Detroit, and in order to do so, we took on Datsuk's contract.
Mhm.
And man, if they do pull 3 first-round assets for that, that's crazy. Just think about that, like for a second. Yes, you did take on a big contract to only move up 7 spots. But to move up those 7 spots, you also attained potentially 3 first-round assets.
That's a lot of value.
That is a lot of value.
Just saying. But it's something like that. Is if you're getting the appropriate assets, you can always use them later.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like I said, I'm just using Matthew Chuck as an example, and it's like, you need to still have something coming in, coming out, something that teams can use, and you know what? If you can stock up on players, even if Velarde's literally in the long term a 2-year rental, right? We trade him in 2 years, Geeky's ready or Donor's ready, whatever.
Yeah,
that's still not bad. That's still not something that you can complain about. But anyway, so Tank's ruined. Tank is done. Pack it up.
8-point
We're
streak.
done. It's too much. So, what is the off-season plan? Because I look at this and it's easy to overreact, but I will say it right now: the season was a waste. If you don't pick top 3, I don't care about top 5. Nope, don't care. If you're not picking top 3, the season's a waste because then you went into this rebuild knowing it was going to be at least a few years, 2 or 3 years minimum. You're going to be in the bottom. You're going to pick in the top 3 or so. You want to get those premium assets, and then it's time to you can start adding a couple veterans, cost control veterans to start. Some guys start getting their extensions. You get the core fleshed out. You shave off the edges. We're going to use Michelli as an example because let's just say Geeky pans out, and hey, Michelli is the one that can be excess goods, even though Michelli is a much better passer, and he's pretty much Ray Whitney 2.0 on some nights, but whatever, we can use him as the example. You shave off the edges, you got your core right there. Hey, you know what? We could use Ryan O'Reilly on that third line. That would be the veteran the missing piece we need. Hey, we could use Matthew Kachuk. We need a scoring winger. Hey, we can use whatever. Like anything you need, you got the assets for, and you can use that to, hey, you might be selling off. Here's a decent player to start building around for your rebuild and some assets.
Yeah, absolutely. You say Michelli, Ray Whitney, and I know you were unable to watch the game today because you were working. Well, what will be yesterday's game when this podcast comes out. Michelli, you need to go back and watch the highlights. Michelli had 2 assists, one on a 5-on-3 and one to, I think it was the goal number 4.
I think I saw the 5-on-3. That was this. You saw the Krause assist from like 2 nights or 2 games ago, right?
Yeah.
Where he was like, he just flipped it behind it. This kid is ridiculous, and please extend him for 20 years.
I'm legit like, this kid might end up being better than Clayton Keller.
Let's not go there yet. I'm gonna say as a pure passer, I can see it.
Dude, okay, I'll at least I'll shoot this shot.
All right.
Passing, Michelli might be a better passer than Clayton Keller.
You also notice how Keller's finishing more.
Yeah,
How like
Keller.
he still has that pass. Like his pass has not gone away by any means. But I feel like whether it's the creativity, whether it's the freedom or whatever, I feel like he's kind of been allowed to just let go. And there's been some pretty goals. There's been some pretty Keller goals. And then pairing up Michelli and Keller on the power play was whoever made that decision deserves a raise. Let's just say that, because as much as I'm angry that they got a point tonight, like if they would have lost 5-4 in regulation, you're looking at it like, damn, these are still players that are building for the future. Damn, they're still scoring points. Hey, they're trying to build this winning culture, and that's the way you do it.
Yep. Yeah, and the reason why I say Michelli might be a better player is pure projection. When we look at like Keller's draft year, or first year in the league, I should say, not his draft year, his first year in the league, and then we compare it to like Michelli's first year in the league. Dude, if Michelli doesn't get injured, I think Michelli beats him for rookie points in a year for Coyotes record.
Well, the only thing is, I think Michelli is going to be that weird player that caps out at like, he'll have 2 20-goal seasons, and it's mostly like 15-goal seasons from there on, but it's like 50 assists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not against that. I know some people put valuation on goals are more valuable than assists, and that's fine. Like I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that valuation, but I feel like people don't recognize that goal scorers don't always just score on their own. They need, synergy with assets that can dish them incredible passes. We look at Ovechkin and we look at the records of goals that he's putting up. And, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the limelight is that, Ovechkin is going to be the one who's noticed for all those goals, when a lot of those goals, they got Backstrom tied to them for the assists on those goals. And, it's the same thing when we look at like Gretzky's records and stuff like that. And it was, all the pieces on that Oiler team back in the day that you look at and you go, yeah, don't get me wrong, Gretzky, I think, definitely drove a lot of play, a lot more than Ovechkin does, but you need those assets to make a difference. And I think that Michelli absolutely
can. Gretzky is still the greatest on the Jets, because there was that story where he essentially wrote his own contract for the Winnipeg Jets. Whether that's true or not, I don't care. We're just going to go with it. If he plays for the Jets and not the Oilers, is he still the great one, or is he the very, very good one?
I don't know. It's so hard when we do this, right? Like, because we can look at a Gretzky story himself when he played as a coach, or when he was a coach here. He said that Kyle Turris could be better than Wayne Gretzky. That's something he actually said as a coach, that he believes
no pressure
that Kyle Turris could be as good as he was playing. I
like Kyle Turris, but no.
Kyle Turris is a good player. He was. He's not Wayne Gretzky. And could he have ended up being Wayne Gretzky on a different team?
No.
I don't know. But
I think we can definitively say not, because we saw his maximum with, what was it, Ottawa? I think it was Ottawa that he had. Like,
yeah, but then you could argue, but he was on a team that didn't develop him very well. And, you blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I got you.
That's, I don't know. I don't know, but I do know is that Michelli is definitely taking advantage of a team that is desperately looking for skill, and young skill, to be precise. And he's absolutely succeeding in that way.
Pay him $5.45 million for the next 3 years. Get it done.
I don't know why you want to pay these guys so much money.
But like literally, Well,
I think
also
4
because
mil gets
it
it
makes it
done.
where it makes it because you don't have to worry about bringing on as many bad contracts to get to the floor. So that's my mindset also because you can afford it. So
Okay.
like if
All
if
right.
it's like a shorter contract, like 2 or 3 years, overpay him a little bit. Like be like, hey, we love you for staying because we're gonna ask you for a hometown discount when we're going for Stanley Cups in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. But so we've seen the elevation of that. We've seen Ray Whitney. Verbata was always good, but really brought Verbata to a different level. And Verbata was a good passer, but he didn't have that wizard ability. We saw Taylor Hall, and I'll stand by this, help to unlock Connor Garland, and he hasn't really had a Taylor Hall type passer since, and he's just been a good goal scorer. Like if you have that right connection, Lawson Krause, great example. He barely hit 20 goals last year. Still a very good player. 20 goal scorer, someone that can get between 15 and 25 a year. That's great. He was sniffing a 43 goal pace at one
Yeah.
point
Yeah, I
with
think so.
Matias Michelli.
Yeah.
Even if he only hits 30, only hits 30. My God, I just it no. It shows the right passer is what you need. You need that setup man. And if Michelli's going to get 15 goals a year, have a couple 20 goal seasons, but that's like the abnormal. But he's potting 50, 60 assists. We're not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care. We're
God,
taking that.
it's still crazy. Like when I heard people losing their mind on the Lawson Krause contract, I was thinking it was like 5 million a year. I'm looking back at this; it's only 4.3. Man, that is
It
gonna be
sounded like a
such a
lot
good
though, didn't it?
contract.
Like when you
Yeah,
first
and
see it,
like
it sounds high, but
I'm
then
going
you
to
think about it.
I'm going to other teams and like comparing and stuff like that, looking at players that can be picked up with this trade for Chikrin,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, Lawson Krause only makes 4.3 million, and he's 25. And he does so much more for the game than just only score. Like he does other parts of the game as
The
well,
hitting,
really well.
he's not the greatest passer, but he's serviceable. Like
Yeah,
he's
he
not
gets
going to kill your drive, essentially. Like
yeah,
he's that serviceable kind of player. That's why his assists are always much lower than his goals, but he hits, he's a glue guy.
and that's
He's
fine.
literally
That's what
like
you need.
that stereotypical bottom sixer with the body of a bottom sixer, the play style of bottom sixer, the glue guy kind of coach, coach loving kind of bottom sixer that has a 25 goal scorer shot.
Yep. Yep.
It's a weird
Absolutely.
combination. But anyway, so now we got that out of the way. I want to get back to this offseason plan. All right, they're gonna pick eighth overall. Let's get real cynical. Let's get real cynical. What's your plan?
Uh,
Because I'm telling you right now, fifth overall is not good enough. I don't get. It's literally just enough to knock yourself out of all of the players that could be considered first overall picks in other drafts. It is literally just enough to get you outside of that. And everyone's saying Will Smith. Other than the meme, I know nothing about that kid, nor do I care. Don't inform me. I don't. Do not care. You're just on the outside of that. I'm looking at this. I'm not gonna lie. The tank is ruined because you knew, like I was saying earlier, the pain was going to be for 2 to 3 years. You knew that going into it. And I know players don't tank, coaches don't tank. The coach is trying to build a culture. The players are trying to earn NHL jobs. It's the GM that tanks. The GM puts a roster that you want to toe the line between competitive efforts while still losing. That is the battle you want. And for whatever reason, well, we know why. It's because Andre Tournier is gonna win Coach of the Year one day because he is that damn good. And I cannot wait till his team's making the playoffs and people start realizing how good this coach is. But you needed this year to be pain, not just some pain with some excitement, more excitement, and then like disappointment, but just enough to get like fifth to eighth. Because what are you gonna do with that? Like, what is the actual plan? And I don't know, except for I'm pissed.
I don't know. I don't know. And I would be the only thing I could say is do you look come trade come draft,
Mm-hmm.
do guys become expendable to move up? So here's like a projection that I'm throwing out, right?
Okay.
Let's say trade. I keep wanting to call it trade deadline. Draft day comes around, right?
Right.
And the Columbus Blue Jackets, who sucked the big suck, get Bedard.
Let's say
Well,
that again.
they did not get Bedard. They dropped from first to second, all the way down to number 3 overall.
Okay.
And they have their pick. Do you, the Coyotes, at pick number 8, go, hey, Columbus Blue Jackets, we'll take pick number 3 from you, and we'll hand you a Nick Schmaltz, a Barrett Hayden, and number 8 overall for number 3?
Yes. And I'm not thinking twice. I love Hayton. I do. No, I love that kid. You can find another guy that will play bottom 6 that can
Connor
be defensively
Geekie
responsible.
is probably
that can
going to
do face-offs.
Yep.
And might get you about 10 to 15 a year, depending on the year. Like I don't know if he's ever a 20-goal scorer, but I think that's pretty comfortable with his range for a season. And then you have the assists. It is replaceable. You're not talking Clayton Keller. You're not talking Logan Cooley.
Yep.
You're not talking those guys.
Nope.
That's replaceable. As much as I love Barrett Hayton and I want him to be in this core, I'm not thinking twice. And Schmaltz, as much as I do like the player, because of the injuries, if you give me a shot at Leo Carlson, I'm going to tell you right now, the pain of losing Schmaltz in the locker room will heal pretty quickly.
Especially when Logan Cooley comes in, and he's probably going to play with Clayton Keller and replace him on that line.
Yes. And then you can also have Gunner, because I feel like Gunner and Cooley are going to play really well together. And Gunner has a really good shot. Keller has a good shot and a good pass. Logan Cooley is a cheat code. How much of that translates? I think it's going to take at least 2 seasons to fully translate. Rookie year, you're going to have the explosiveness. Sophomore year, more teams are going to figure him out and target him, so he's going to have some struggles. Third year, he's going to find the balance, and there you go. Like that's I think I've just perfectly broken down why so many players have sophomore slumps. It's literally, hey, this worked my freshman year, so I'll go into sophomore year doing that, but everyone is now targeting you. Everyone now knows what you do, and they target it, so it takes you a while to adjust. You got the shock, you got the denial, you got to go through your 5 stages of grief, and then realize, okay, it's time to reinvent myself. But no, that will wear off if you get Leo Carlson. If you get,
just saying,
you decide to go Lichkov.
Just
like,
saying,
I would do it. The problem is, why would Columbus? Because I know why they wouldn't, why they'd want proven players. All right, just to kind of, it fleshes out the roster. Number 8's still going to be a good pick that they can have in their system for a while and not need to worry. But Carlson, while he's not quite, he would be a number 1 overall pick in any other year. He has raised his stock to where now you can start making arguments. Like he's put himself up there. Good for him. Great effort. Got to give him a lot of respect. So it's like.
So here's.
Do you see him more as Fantilli, or do you see him more as, let's say, a Turcotte from a previous draft, where take it or leave it kind of thing?
I would say he's definitely higher than Turcotte. I would definitely say he's higher than Kotkaniemi. I don't know how to say his name. He's definitely higher than that. If I were to pen him down as somebody who I could see him turning into, I would say a slightly bigger Elias Pettersson.
That's not bad.
That's what I would point towards as a comparable to Leo Carlson.
I like that. I like what you're saying there. Elias Pettersson's a good player.
Yep.
Like him.
So
I wouldn't mind him in a Coyotes uniform, but he's not leaving Vancouver anytime soon.
So here's my thing. You look at that and you go, Leo Carlson, why would the Blue Jackets give that up? Right? And when you look at what Kekalainen, their general manager, has been able to do there, he's able to get good value out of players, really good value, right? And being able to pick up a guy like Barrett Hayden, that's a centerman, But I don't care what you see Hayden being, whether he's a top 6 or he's not going to make the top 6. He's a centerman, right? Through and through. There's a guy there that you could put on a Johnny Gaudreau, maybe with Patrick Laine on the other side, and try them out. See how it goes.
Versatile, and he's defensively responsible to make up for turnovers and make up for some of those defensive lags. I know Laine is notorious for not being the greatest defensively. I don't know too much about Gaudreau's two-way game, but that right there unlocks a lot because he's also good at the face-off dot. So even if you don't have that franchise center, he can help, and that would be good.
Here's my other thing too. You look at center, and I know you can never have too many centermen. You can just put them on the wings or whatever. They have Cole Sillinger. They have Kent Johnson. Those are 2 legitimate centermen also that are developing in that system. I want to say they have one more in development that I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that the Blue Jackets have that are very young that need to like learn how to be NHLers. And no, Nick Schmaltz and Barrett Hayden aren't cup winning pieces that are, bona fide and have been deep in the playoffs. No, they're not that, but they're NHLers through and through. They're professionals that will teach you how those young kids to come up to be NHLers. It's just a thought, you have those pieces already there. The centermans that they've drafted. You pick up a really damn good player, Nick Schmaltz. He's a damn good player when he's healthy.
Yeah.
And maybe that helps, break the curse. Maybe it was just, the Arizona curse where we tend to somehow break our players. Maybe he does stay healthy there. And that's a pretty damn good asset to put on with either a Laine or a Gaudreau.
I mean, it makes sense because they've had some top picks for a few years now. Because after that playoff run, they went all in. I think it was 2019. They essentially had to start a rebuild from scratch.
And
the logic makes sense because hey, we don't need that top 3 talent. Obviously, if you're getting first or second, you're drafting it. You're not trading it. But we don't need that
first or second. You're absolutely not.
Carlson.
Yeah, first or second, you're absolutely not. They're non-touchables. I'm sorry, they're not. Fantilli and Bedard are non-touchables. But
literally
Leo
better
Carlson,
than Shane Wright last year, better than Slavkovsky last year.
Yeah, Leo Carlson, there might be some movement. And remember, this isn't, they're trading away a pick and they're just not picking at all in the first round. No, they're still picking at 8. And Kekalainen somehow always finds great value further back in the draft. Kekalainen's a really good general manager at scouting. He's really good at it. You're still picking at number 8. There's still value there. Now, it's not as high value as Leo Carlson will be, but you have that high value that you've already drafted there. Do you look at adding really nice complementary assets? You add essentially 3 for 1 in that draft. You add Hayden, Schmaltz, and then whoever you pick at number 8.
Or in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, you're going +2 in card advantage. I haven't thrown a card game reference in forever. But it's literally franchises in 2 different places where Columbus was not supposed to suck this year. They had a lot of injuries and whatnot, so it's hey, we'd also like a little more depth. Because if they had Schmaltz and Hayden on their team right now, I'm not going to say they'd be playoffs, because the East is no, but they'd be better off. So they also might look at it hey, we're still getting a good young top 10 asset, and we're getting some proven NHLers that come plug in the lineup, helps with the depth, and we'd be giving up another young player that would take a few years to develop, and the Coyotes are we have a few years to develop. We got a couple of those years to develop these players. I don't know. It makes sense. I don't know if it happens, but it does at least make sense. So that is it for the actual topics. I had one thing I wanted to talk about that you can see behind me that for some reason you're so rude and decided not to ask.
Well, you were too busy flipping your mind at the game. So, and by the way, I'm going to ruin it for you. They did lose. So
I know I saw I got notifications on the Coyotes and the NHL app. So
okay,
so thank you. But I get to look at a picture of my dog, so I can't be that sad. Anyway, so Do you know what this jersey is? I like to wear on the show for the most part.
Is it a practice jersey?
One. No, so Walmart does this, and they're about $50. And they're officially licensed gear. I don't know what company does it. This hat is much nicer than a lot of the other hats I have. It's made by a company called like fan favorites. There you go. And they're usually like 10 or $20 depending on where you get them. Pretty high quality hats, high quality logos, not sponsored. I'm like, go to Walmart, go to Target, actually try to find deals, try to actually look out for yourself and save some money because you'll find some decent deals. But I like this as a concept because I actually think the logo is better than Fanatics, like objectively. Okay. I think the material not as good. Obviously, you could tell it's a lower quality jersey, but for $50, as someone who has always lived paycheck to paycheck, I can justify spending 50 way easier than I can justify spending 200. Mm-hmm. And that is just most people are going to be like that because it's logical. And while I waste a lot of money, that's because I'm very fortunate in my situation. Most people don't have that luxury. So, let me go ahead and grab this real quick. This jersey right here,
Matt's
that I got today for $50 dues at the Wally Worlds is just a Kachina version. I was waiting for them to do something like that. And I'm not going to lie, as much as I love having a little more of the brick red on the jersey, the green needs to be up here. The Kachina needs the green up here. It completes the look. I don't think for $50, this is a bad option if you want a Coyotes jersey, but you don't want the overly cheap with the overpriced Fanatics or the $200 for a blank that is the Adidas now because of all this price hikes and stupid crap.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that you can beat the crap out of and not feel like you're, upset at yourself for doing so.
I have two of these. This is my second one. I have one sitting in the closet that's keeping good condition. I'll wear this, and by the end of the season, if I can find a second one, usually I wait for clearance because it'll be like $30. It's like, hey, I'll throw that one in the closet and have the backup. Yep. But if you just want a Coyotes jersey and you're like, I don't want to pay all this money for an overpriced product, because it quite frankly is. Like,
it absolutely
the new
is.
generation are not as interested in sports in general, and a lot of this old way of like the reason hats are expensive. So this, I have one sitting. Let me grab this real quick. Now you got me on an anti big business thing. So give me a. We're gonna go with Matt's soapbox. So this hat right here was like $10 at Ross or $8.99, whatever. My wife got it for me. Okay quality, definitely not the greatest looking. I would not be shocked if this was $30 when it was brand new in the. It was brand new at Ross, but in the team shop, I would not be shocked if it was $30.
When it's not
would you pay $30 for this?
No.
It's not visually appealing enough. It's not high enough quality. It's better than some of the hats, but it's not good enough. But even the crappiest hats, minimum. Like I have this Coyotes trucker hat that I got when my wife got me at Target, and it was $25 because of licensing. This outdated concept where you partner with a company, and even though you're essentially giving the blessing to put your logo on it, these hats, I can tell you right now, without needing to do any research, this does not cost more than a few bucks to produce. You're sticking the logo on it, and then you're just upcharging not 50% or even 100% to make your profit, make your money, keep the business going. You're marking it up like 400 or 500% because you want all of the money, and that's how it works. The material, and most people aren't cool with that anymore.
Material for that's probably like, I would say $5. Labor from the sweatshop that it was made in, probably $1, if that. Like, at $6. Transit to the United States, $3. And you're still making double the profit off of it.
It is insanely cheap to produce a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people nowadays, like, it is so... For hockey, I know for other sports too, but for hockey, it is so expensive that there is literal like trade-in programs and secondhand equipment, and it's normal because you got to try to save a few bucks.
Yeah.
Like, sports are so expensive to be a fan, to watch, to go to games. You can't even just, hey, I would like to pay the NHL $100 or whatever it is for the year to watch all the Coyotes games. Nope, you live in Arizona. You have to go through Bally. Okay, well, I guess I'll go through Bally. Well, you don't even get all the games because we got some going on ESPN, some go here, some are national games. It's a mess.
Yep.
Because a lot of money comes to TV deals, but like literally, people are tired of overcharging. They're tired of this stupidity. It's outdated. There's a reason why the newer generation does not care as much about sports, or at the very least, if they do, they're casuals. They are less likely to be these big hardcore fanatics, and they're way less likely to buy real products. Most of them have no problem just buying $50 knockoff jerseys that look terrible. And I'll be honest here, this looks objectively better than any of the knockoffs.
Oh,
and it's an
100%.
actual officially licensed product.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sales on eBay, buy used jerseys. No one's going to know it's used unless it's really beat up. That Doan Flying Fox, that's used. It had a stain or whatever. My wife got it. I think she said $60. She got the stain out. I never even saw the stain on the jersey. So like, save money, find ways to save money. Don't just throw money at these companies, yada yada, jersey ads, crap like that. I love these as a concept. I need to make a separate video because like giving people that do not have that kind of extra money an option, an official option to try to bridge that gap. Even though it's in their weird, well, we got to make it cost $2 to produce and charge $50 for it way. Even though you have to do it that way, I still appreciate the effort to try to get it a little more accessible.
Yep. All right. Well, now that I can get you off your soapbox, I'm gonna have to. Is there any other topics? Because I'm gonna have to start to limit us here. We're going to have to.
That was my last topic that I had.
Okay.
That's why I brought it up when I did. That was the last topic I had.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'm glad that you're able to get that out. You get it out every few episodes or so.
Matt's soapbox.
you'll get on the soapbox and talk about the ventures of capitalism.
Ooh, big corporation. It's funny. I am a hardcore capitalist enjoyer. I just don't like the massive amount of idiots that don't pay attention to bad
it's
business
the gouging
and allow it to go out of control.
It's the gouging that you don't like, and I think that we can all speak to that and understand that. I think we can all agree that the gouging is not necessary and painful.
But you gotta do it because you got the howling coyote on that hat.
Yep.
I need you to understand, how am I gonna buy my second yacht if I don't charge you $30 for a trucker hat?
True.
Buy it.
Do it now.
Do it now.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast, I screwed that up. I'm just going to do it one more time just because. If you enjoyed this episode of the Desert Moon Hockey Podcast, I hope you give us a like, a follow, a subscription on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And Columbus, please make that trade. We'll see you guys next week.